What happens when an invisible wife finally reveals her true self? You are about to witness Anya Petrova's terrifying discovery. She heard the guests at her own party whispering about how the poor, hidden wife was finally supposed to meet the dazzling mistress everyone adored. But what her husband, Maximilian Max Riker, didn't know was that his unseen wife was about to steal the stage in a way he would never forget. Chapter 1. The Cruel Reflection. The 18th century gilded mirror reflected a cruel truth. Anya Petrova no longer recognized the woman staring back. Her emerald green eyes, once brilliant like the waters of Lake Zurich under the morning sun, now carried the deep shadows of 3 years of isolation. At 32, she still possessed an ethereal beauty that might make visitors pause in the narrow streets of the old town. But Max Riker had achieved the seemingly impossible. He had made her invisible, even to herself. From the floor below their 16th century lakeside mansion, the sounds of a party in full swing drifted up. Crystal laughter resonated up the marble staircase, mingling with the clinking of champagne flutes and animated chatter in several languages. It was another of Max Riker's famous receptions. A French-Swiss magnate, known for his business in rare art and antiquities, but especially for his ability to captivate the European elite. Anya adjusted the silk robe Max had suggested she wear, a draining gray tone, and moved away from the window. Down in the inner courtyard, lit by golden lanterns, she could see the guests. Diplomats, art collectors, aristocrats from ancient families, and new money seeking social validation. And at the center of it all, as always, Max commanded attention with his calculated smile and elegant gestures. Beside him, like a seductive shadow, was Lara Voss. Platinum blonde hair in an impeccable chignon, a blood-red dress emphasizing every curve, and jewels that shone like miniature suns. Lara was everything Max had whispered, poisoning Anya's ear for the past 2 years, that Anya was no longer young, vibrant, social, ambitious. A wife should reflect her husband's success, Max often said, with that condescending tone that made her feel tiny. And you, my dear Anya, have settled for being just a shadow. The irony was that Anya had been the opposite when they met. At 26, she was a respected heritage conservator, specializing in Byzantine-era ciphers and restoration, spoke 6 languages, and her doctoral thesis on Byzantine influence in medieval Swiss manuscripts had caused a stir in the academic world. Max met her at a Geneva auction when she was authenticating a suspected piece for a client. Fascinating, Max murmured, approaching with that predatory charm she mistook for genuine interest. A woman who understands beauty and is beautiful herself. The transformation was gradual. Max began suggesting she quit her job. A woman of your position doesn't need to work. Then distanced her from her friends. They don't understand our world now. And finally insisted she dedicate herself solely to being an exemplary wife. Your only occupation should be supporting me. Anya, madly in love, accepted every suggestion until she woke up one day as exactly what Max wanted, a porcelain doll locked in a house museum. Lara's arrival was the final blow. Max didn't bother to hide the affair. He seemed to enjoy flaunting how his mistress was everything Anya was not. "Why don't you fix yourself up anymore?" Max had asked the night before, evaluating her with the same critical eye he used to judge dubious art. "Lara is always impeccable. A woman must strive to maintain her husband's interest." A roar of laughter from Lara echoed through the house, and Anya felt something break inside her chest. It wasn't just her heart. It was deeper, as if an internal chain had snapped. She went to the closet, her hands trembling as she pushed aside the muted conservative clothes Max approved of. Deep inside, protected by a garment bag, was a dress she had bought in Milan during their honeymoon. before Max began shaping her tastes. The dress was a deep, shimmering sapphire blue, evoking the ancient blues of the Swiss Alps at dusk, with golden embroidery reminiscent of Byzantine mosaics. When Anya put it on, she felt like she was reclaiming a buried part of herself. She unbound her hair, letting it fall in natural waves over her shoulders. She applied subtle makeup, highlighting the green eyes that had always been her trademark. Looking in the mirror for the second time that night, the woman staring back was no longer a shadow. It was Anya Petrova, resurrected. The sound of footsteps on the staircase made her turn. Max appeared in the doorway, his face twisted in familiar annoyance. "Guests are asking for you," he said, his gaze sweeping over the dress with clear disapproval. "And that outfit? You know I dislike when you draw unnecessary attention." Anya felt the familiar urge to apologize, but this time, something shifted. She drew herself up, lifted her chin, and met his gaze with a firmness she hadn't felt in years. "I am stunning, Max," she said, her voice stronger than she expected. "And I am going down to greet our guests." The expression of shock on Max's face almost made her smile. He opened his mouth to protest, but Anya was already walking toward the door, her heels echoing on the marble like a declaration of war. As she descended the majestic staircase, Anya felt every eye settle on her. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Glasses hung suspended in the air, and a murmur of admiration spread through the hall. Reaching the bottom, she paused dramatically. The entire room was silent. "Good evening," her voice rang out clearly. "I apologize for the delay. I am Anya Delacroix, and I am absolutely delighted to meet you." From a corner, she saw Lara shrink slightly, as if overshadowed by a more intense light. Max remained at the top of the stairs, his face a mask of contained fury. But Anya wasn't looking at him. Her attention was on the guests drawn to her, like moths to a flame. What none of them, not Max, not Lara, nor the guests, knew was that Anya had not only decided to appear at the party, she had decided to reclaim everything that belonged to her. Chapter 2. The resurgence of the expert Anya's transformation sent a ripple effect through the hall. Guests approached with magnetic attraction. The first was Count Hans Gruber, a distinguished man in his 60s, known for his private collection of Renaissance art. "Madam Riker," he said, delicately kissing Anya's hand, "your beauty tonight rivals the most sublime Tiepolo frescoes." "Thank you, Count. I trust you are enjoying Max's collection," Anya replied, her voice regaining the sophisticated tone that was once her hallmark. "I recognize some pieces I helped authenticate in the early years of our marriage." The Count raised an eyebrow, visibly intrigued. "Ah, so you are also an art expert?" Max never mentioned he married a specialist. Before Anya could answer, Dr. Elias Kaufmann, one of the most respected history professors from the University of Zurich, approached. "Anya? My God, it is you!" Dr. Kaufmann had corresponded with her years ago about her thesis. "Petrova?" he asked. "Dr. Kaufmann, what a pleasure." Anya smiled, touched that he remembered her maiden name. "Petrova?" intervened Baroness Ingrid von Habsburg, with genuine curiosity. "Are you the Anya Petrova who wrote that groundbreaking thesis on Byzantine influence in medieval manuscripts? I read it at the University of Vienna. Absolutely brilliant." The silence was palpable. Max's furious gaze burned her back from across the room. For 3 years, he had systematically erased her academic past. "Yes," Anya replied, lifting her chin with renewed dignity. "That is me. Though I must admit, I haven't actively pursued academic research in some time." "What a waste," exclaimed Celeste Moreau, a French gallerist. "A mind like yours should be shaping the future of art conservation, not hidden away in, well, where have you been all these years?" "I've been here," Anya said simply, her voice strengthening with each word. "In Zurich, living in this palace, but not participating in the world I've always loved." Dr. Kaufmann shook his head regretfully. What a tragedy for the academic world. Look, I'm organizing an international symposium on heritage conservation next spring. It would be an honor to have you as the keynote speaker. I would be absolutely delighted, Anya replied instantly, feeling a rush of forgotten intellectual excitement. Across the growing circle that had formed around Anya, Lara watched with increasing tension. She had approached, expecting to witness another awkward appearance by the shy wife. Instead, she was witnessing a woman radiating a natural sophistication that no amount of borrowed jewels could buy. Lara forced a smile. Oh yes, of course. Max told me Anya likes art. Dr. Kaufman frowned with annoyance. Likes? Madam, Anya Petrova is one of the leading authorities on Byzantine ciphers of her generation. Her thesis redefined our understanding of 13th century stylistic transition. To call that a hobby is, well, it's ignorance. Lara was instantly out of her depth. Oh well, interesting. Do you know, said Baroness von Habsburg, addressing Anya directly and ignoring Lara completely. I am renovating my private collection in Salzburg. Would it be possible to hire you as a consultant? I would pay very well for your expertise. Before Anya could answer, Max finally appeared, his forced smile barely masking the tension in his eyes. I apologize for the interruption, he said, placing a possessive hand on Anya's arm. My wife tends to be modest about her pastimes. The word pastimes fell like lead. Dr. Kaufman glared at Max with open contempt. Pastimes? Mr. Riker, your wife has a summa cum laude doctorate from the Sorbonne. Her articles are published in the most prestigious art journals in Europe. To call that a pastime is, well, it's ignorance. Max slightly paled, but held his smile. Of course, but that was a long time ago. Now, Anya dedicates herself entirely to being my wife. What a waste, Celeste murmured loudly. Anya felt the tension and knew the moment had come to take a definitive stand. Actually, her voice cut through the tension clearly, I am seriously considering returning to academia. This conversation has reminded me how much I miss research and intellectual passion. The silence was deafening. Max visibly struggled to maintain composure. Anya, Max said in a low, threatening tone only she could detect. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. There is nothing to discuss, she replied calmly. These are people from my world, Max. A world you made me abandon, but which never stopped being a part of who I am. Dr. Kaufman stepped forward, sensing the toxic dynamic. Anya, if you are truly interested in resuming your career, it would be an honor to help. The university always has space for exceptional talent, and I have contacts in the major European galleries, Celeste added. A woman with your expertise could write her own destiny. Anya looked at the interested, encouraging faces surrounding her, and then met Max's eyes. Thank you, she said to the group, without breaking eye contact with Max. I accept all these generous offers. It is time for Anya Petrova to return to the world. The use of her maiden name was a slap to Max. Interactive question. Lara makes a critical mistake. The academic world moves fast. She'll probably find her skills are quite outdated. Why does this statement backfire so badly? A. It highlights Lara's lack of intellectual depth. B. It motivates Anya to prove her wrong. C. It confirms to the elite that Max keeps an outdated wife. Comment A, B, or C below. Final call to action. Like this video if Anya's resurrection inspires you. Share this saga. Subscribe to the channel. The next chapters will detail the brutal aftermath, Max's cruel blackmail, and Anya's brilliant, calculated counter-strategy. Tu yet voi. Toi rut vui, vi ban vun say me vi câu chuyện kịch tính về sự tái sinh của Anya. Chapter 3. The Cruel Blackmail and the Forgotten Secret. The final hours of the party passed in a blur of stimulating conversations and promises of future collaboration. Anya felt like she was drinking from a wellspring. Every connection, Every offer of opportunity, every word of encouragement was like oxygen to a soul that had been suffocating. However, she also felt Max's eyes fixed on her from afar, an invisible pressure. His fury was building like a storm on the horizon, and she knew that when the party ended, a reckoning would come. When the last guests finally departed, the palace was enveloped in a tense silence. Max, having coldly dismissed the staff, turned to Anya with the fury she had feared. The social mask was gone, revealing the icy rage beneath. "What a charming performance!" he hissed, his voice sharp as an ice shard. 3 years I tried to teach you to be a proper wife, and in a single night, you destroy everything. "Destroy what, Max?" Anya countered, refusing to shrink under his glare. "Your manufactured version of who I was supposed to be? Our life, my reputation," Max exploded. "What do people think of me now that my own wife humiliates me in public?" "I didn't humiliate you," Anya replied calmly. "I simply stopped humiliating myself to protect your ego." He took a step towards her, his voice dropping to a low, menacing growl. "You forgot your place. You forgot what you owe me. Remember your mother?" Anya froze. Her mother, Yelena Petrova, lived in a high-end nursing home in Geneva with early-onset dementia. Max controlled all the finances related to her care, a cruel, effective tool he used to keep Anya tethered. "Those expensive cares, the specialized treatment, all paid for with my money," Max continued, his eyes cold and calculating. "This house, your clothes, your comfortable life, all thanks to my generosity." "Generosity?" Anya repeated, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "You turned every aspect of my life into a golden prison." "I saved you from a mediocre life," Max shouted. "I had a career I loved, respected colleagues, a bright future, and you systematically destroyed all of it." The mention of Lara made Max pause. "Lara serves a purpose for now. When she no longer serves me, I will find another." The casual cruelty was sickening. "Very well," Max finally said, his voice regaining that chilling, calculating control. "If that's how you want to play, tomorrow I will suspend all payments for your mother's care. Let's see how long your independence lasts when Yelena ends up in a public clinic." The threat hit Anya like a physical blow. She knew Max would do it. Yelena's well-being was Anya's ultimate weakness. "Please," Anya pleaded, hating how small her voice sounded. "Don't drag my mother into this." "Then you understand," Max said with a cruel smile. "You can play independent academic at a party, but in the end, you still depend on me. You will always depend on me. You have until tomorrow morning to make the correct decision. And Anya," he added, stopping at the door, "if you try anything stupid, like leaving the house or contacting a lawyer, I will know immediately, and the consequences will be far worse than just cutting your mother's payments." Max left, leaving Anya alone in the silent ballroom, surrounded by the wreckage of her brief resurrection. She knew she had reached the point of no return, the lifeline in the shadows. Anya crept silently up the marble staircase. Instead of going to the marital bedroom, she made her way to her old study, a small room Max had repurposed for storage. She found it at the bottom of a dusty box, her personal laptop, the one she used during her doctoral years. It contained all her academic contacts, unfinished research, and, most importantly, her mother's care facility contact details. The laptop took an eternity to boot up. When she finally connected to the internet, Anya made the call. "Ah, Maison du Lac," a smooth French voice answered. "Hello, I am Anya Riker, daughter of Yelena Petrova," Anya said in fluent French. "I'm concerned about financial matters regarding my mother's care." "Ah, Madam Riker, your mother is doing wonderfully. And thank you for the additional payments over the last few months. Your husband has been so generous." Anya frowned. "Additional payments?" "Yes, he authorized special treatments totaling several thousand Swiss francs more than the regular monthly fee. Madame Petrova has access to the best care available." Anya's heart leaped. Max had lied. Not only was there no financial crisis, but he had used Yelena's well-being as a weapon, knowing Anya would sacrifice anything for her mother. But now she knew the truth, and that changed everything. She spent the next 2 hours searching frantically on her old laptop. She found former colleague emails, research data, and, crucially, a personal bank account she had opened before the marriage that Max apparently never discovered. The balance was modest, but it was hers, untouched. More importantly, she found something that transformed everything: the prenuptial agreement Max had insisted on signing. While Max, in his arrogance, had protected his assets and companies, he let one concession slip. Anya retained all rights to intellectual property developed before or during the marriage. This included her academic research, articles, and, most valuable of all, the patents for 2 specialized conservation techniques developed during her doctorate. A quick online search revealed that one of the techniques was being licensed by major European museums. The royalties, which Max had secretly been collecting in her name for years, totaled a considerable sum. Armed with this evidence, Anya made the decision that would change her life forever. Interactive question. Anya has discovered 2 crucial financial secrets: the hidden bank account and the IP royalties. Which secret is her most powerful weapon against Max, and why? A. The proof of hidden royalties, leverage for theft charges. B. The safe bank account, immediate escape fund. Comment A or B below. Final call to action. Like this video if Anya's discovery gives you hope. Share this saga to inspire others. Subscribe to the channel. The final chapter will detail her spectacular and decisive public counterattack. Thu Yet Vời. Tôi rất vui vì bạn vẫn kiên định với câu chuyện này. Chapter 4. The counterattack of intellect. The next morning, Anya descended for breakfast, dressed in a simple but elegant suit. Not one of the neutral garments Max approved of, but something that made her feel professional, firm, and present. Max sat at the marble kitchen table, reading the financial newspaper. Lara was toying with a croissant. "Good morning," Anya said with a calm that surprised even herself. Max looked up, clearly expecting to see her defeated. Instead, he found a woman radiating serene determination. "I trust you have reflected on our conversation?" he asked. "Yes, I have," Anya replied, pouring herself coffee. "And I made some important decisions." Lara stopped eating, sensing the attention shift. Max leaned back triumphantly. "Excellent. Then you will make the necessary calls to decline those offers." "No," Anya said simply. "In fact, I already spoke with several this morning. I accepted the consultancy position with the Brazilian collector, and next week I start working with Dr. Kaufman at the university." Max's face instantly hardened. "Anya, we discussed this. Your mother is very well taken care of, thank you," she interrupted. "I called the residence last night. I discovered that not only are the payments current, but you have been paying for extra treatments she doesn't even need. You were using my concern for her as a tool for manipulation." Max paled. He hadn't expected her to verify the information. "That doesn't change the fact that you are financially dependent on me." "About that," Anya said, placing several documents on the table. "I discovered that I have rights to intellectual property that generates significant income. Income you have been collecting in my name for years." Max snatched the documents. His eyes widened as he read them. That's technically true, but..." "No buts, Max," Anya replied. "You stole from me. You made me believe I was completely dependent when my own work generated enough to support me and my mother." Lara watched, realizing that the balance of power had violently shifted. "Furthermore," Anya continued, "I consulted with a specialized intellectual property lawyer. It seems I have ample grounds to sue you for misappropriation of royalties, and a solid case for divorce based on psychological cruelty. Max shot up abruptly, the chair scraping against the marble. "You can't do this to me! I built this life for us!" "You built a cage and called it home," Anya stated, "and I refuse to be locked up any longer." She walked toward the exit. Before leaving, she turned one last time. "And Max, my lawyers will send you the divorce papers before the end of the week. I hope you and Lara are very happy together." With those words, Anya walked out of the kitchen, ascended the stairs one last time as Max Riker's wife, and retrieved the small suitcase she had packed in the pre-dawn hours. 30 minutes later, she was aboard a Vaporetto, sailing down the Grand Canal, leaving the palace behind. Venice unfolded before her like an opera scene. But this time, Anya was the heroine of her own liberation story. Her cell phone rang. It was Dr. Elias Kaufman. "Anya," he said enthusiastically, "I have an even better proposition. Harvard University is looking for a director for their art conservation program. I thought of you immediately." Anya smiled, looking at the golden waters of the canal, reflecting the morning light. "Dr. Kaufman, it would be an honor to consider that position." "Excellent. And Anya, welcome back to the world." 2 years later, the new zenith. 2 years later, the Harvard Art Museum gallery buzzed with activity. Dr. Anya Petrova, now 34, walked among the attendees of the exhibition she had curated. Her research on authentication techniques had revolutionized the way the academic world approached medieval art, and the exhibition was attracting specialists from around the globe. Her brown hair held natural golden highlights, and her green eyes shone with the confidence of a woman who had found her place in the world. She wore an emerald green dress, chosen for her own pleasure. "Dr. Petrova," a voice called. Dr. Sofia Andreoli, her mentor and friend, approached. "This exhibition is absolutely magnificent." "It wasn't lost time," Anya said thoughtfully. "It was a valuable lesson about the woman I never want to be again." The divorce had been finalized 6 months earlier, after a long, but ultimately victorious, legal battle. Max tried to contest the prenup, but the evidence of appropriation of royalties and psychological cruelty was irrefutable. Anya had heard that Max was now living in Paris. "Lara left him as soon as she realized he wasn't as rich as he pretended," Sophia murmured. "I call it natural consequences," Anya responded. "He built a life based on illusions and control. When both disappeared, everything collapsed." A young assistant approached. "Dr. Petrova, someone is at the entrance asking for you. A European gentleman. He says he knows you from Venice." "Did he give his name?" Anya asked, keeping her composure. "Count Alessandro di Montecroce." A smile spread across Anya's face. The Count had been one of the kindest guests that fateful night. He had been one of the many who had given her the seed of courage that allowed her to find her own way out. Count Alessandro appeared, elegant as ever, his eyes shining with genuine pleasure. "Dear Anya, or should I say Dr. Petrova, what an extraordinary transformation. Count Alessandro, what a pleasant surprise. What brings you to Boston?" "Business primarily, but also curiosity. I've heard so much about your work, I needed to see it with my own eyes." He paused, looking directly at her. "And I have a proposition for you. I am organizing an international cultural foundation dedicated to preserving Byzantine art throughout Europe. We need a scientific director, someone with vision, expertise, and reputation. Someone exactly like you." The offer was tempting. Anya had learned not to make impulsive decisions. "The offer is real, and it would be a magnificent project for you," Alessandro continued. "But to be completely honest, it is also an excuse to spend more time with you, a woman whom I deeply admire both professionally and personally." Anya studied him, surprised by his frankness. Alessandro was everything Max was not: respectful, transparent, and genuine. "Thank you for your honesty," Anya said finally. "It is refreshing. I will consider both offers." Alessandro smiled, his expression like the sunrise over the waters of Venice. "Then," he toasted, "to new possibilities and second chances." "To being truly free," Anya responded, clinking her glass against his. She had proven something far more valuable than her capacity for revenge. She had proven her capacity for rebirth, and that, after all, was the sweetest triumph of all. Interactive question. Anya is presented with a new relationship prospect, Count Alessandro. Why is her professional status now more critical than her personal feelings in this new choice? Comment. It protects her from financial dependency. B. It ensures she is valued for her mind first. C. Both A and B. Final call to action, like this video. If Anya's journey motivates you to reclaim your own worth, share this saga. Subscribe to the channel. Would you like us to write a new story now? Or would you like to explore Anya's new adventure in Europe? Epilogue. Journey to Absolute Freedom. 3 months after the exhibition at Harvard, Dr. Anya Petrova finalized her decision. She accepted Count Alessandro di Montecroce's offer to be the scientific director of his new international cultural foundation based in Rome. The move wasn't about running from anything. It was about walking towards everything. It was a professional challenge, perfectly aligned with her expertise in Byzantine conservation, and it offered her the chance to travel, research, and truly dedicate herself to the career Max had forced her to abandon. She retained her position at Harvard as a consulting director, ensuring her professional influence remained rooted in the academic world. The farewells were quiet and meaningful. Dr. Kaufman presented her with a rare 14th century Venetian manuscript fragment as a parting gift. Most importantly, her mother, Yelena, now stable in a world-class Boston clinic, was lucid enough during their last visit to hug Anya tightly. "Go, my brilliant girl," Yelena had whispered. "Go build your kingdom. I am so proud of you." The Rome Renaissance. Anya's life in Rome became a tapestry woven with ancient history and new possibilities. Her work was demanding, but deeply satisfying. She was now dictating major international conservation projects, working with the top minds in Europe, and utilizing the patents Max had stolen to fund groundbreaking research. Count Alessandro, true to his word, proved to be an impeccable professional partner. He was respectful of her time, her intellect, and her absolute need for autonomy. Their relationship outside of work evolved slowly, carefully. Their first date was a late-night consultation at the Vatican Library, followed by a simple dinner discussing the complexities of digitalizing ancient archives. Their second was a trip to Florence to inspect a deteriorating fresco, during which they shared genuine laughter over a terrible hotel reservation. Alessandro never pushed. He courted her mind first, her passion second, and offered affection only when she explicitly invited it. He understood that Anya's previous marriage was not just a breakup. It was a psychological war, and the scars required deep respect. One evening, while walking through the quiet, cobblestone streets of Trastevere, Alessandro stopped and looked at her. "Anya," he said gently, "I admire you more than any woman I have ever known. But I will never ask you to compromise your work, your independence, or your fatigue. I want to build a future with you, but only if you lead the way, at your own pace." Anya smiled, feeling a peace she hadn't known was possible. She wasn't fearful. She was evaluating. She wasn't reacting. She was choosing. She reached out and took his hand, not because she needed his support, but because she wanted his company. "Lead the way," she said. "I like the sound of that." Anya had returned to Europe not as the wife of a powerful man, but as a titan of her own industry. She had found love again, a love built not on dependence or deception, but on the unwavering foundation of mutual respect and shared intellectual passion. Her ultimate victory was not revenge. It was the absolute freedom to choose her own destiny. Interactive question. Anya is now in a relationship where she is valued as an equal. What single quality do you think Anya values most in Alessandro, given her past with Max? A. His immense wealth. B. His maturity and patience. C. His connections in the art world. Comment A, B, or C below. Final call to action. Like this video, if Anya's triumphant return to Europe inspires you, share this saga. Subscribe to the channel. Would you like me to write a completely new story now? Or would you like a brief flash forward showing the eventual fate of Victor and Lara? Final epilogue, Shiz and the Phoenix. 2 years after Anya's departure, the elegant world of Zurich had forgotten Victor Riker's charisma and remembered only his disgrace. The legal fallout from the divorce was devastating. The evidence of intellectual property theft and misappropriation of royalties forced Victor to pay a massive settlement to Anya. Furthermore, the revelations about his ruthless financial practices and the systematic manipulation of his wife's medical care turned the high society elite against him. He was forced to mortgage the lakeside palace he had used to imprison Anya and eventually sell off most of his Riker Antiquities Group assets. The man who once commanded rooms full of diplomats and collectors was reduced to working as a low-profile consultant for a small firm in Dubai, far from the European circles he once dominated. His reputation, built on an illusion of power and integrity, was shattered. He was left with only the bitter, cold realization that his biggest mistake wasn't the affair, but underestimating the mind of the woman he married. Lara's cold reality. Lara Voss, true to Anya's prediction, abandoned Victor the moment the financial security disappeared. She left him for an aging, less wealthy businessman in Paris. However, she found that the social doors that opened for her as the glittering mistress of a magnate did not open for her as the former mistress of a ruined one. She was now just another young face seeking validation, her lack of substance exposed and her social currency devalued. She never achieved the stability or the genuine respect she craved, forever chasing the fleeting, superficial life Max had promised her, the unbreakable legacy. Meanwhile, Dr. Anya Petrova flourished in Rome. Her relationship with Count Alessandro evolved into a deep, affectionate partnership. They were married quietly in a small ceremony overlooking the Tiber River, a union built not on economic dependency, but on shared vision and profound intellectual equality. Anya used the settlement money and her research royalties to establish the Petrova International Research Grant, specifically supporting women in conservation whose careers had been interrupted by personal hardship or patriarchal structures. She transformed her pain into a powerful, enduring legacy. She was no longer the porcelain doll in the Zurich cage. She was the phoenix of the academic world, brilliant, respected, and absolutely free. Her true victory wasn't just walking out. It was proving that the highest value of a person lies in their mind and their integrity, not in the title of their spouse. Interactive question. The story showed that both Victor and Lara suffered consequences for valuing superficiality over substance. Whose consequence do you think was more fitting? Victor's financial ruin or Lara's social exile? Comment Victor or Lara, and why. Final call to action. Like this video. If Anya's ultimate triumph inspires you, share this saga to show that true power is internal. Subscribe to the channel. Ready for a completely new story now. 2 years into her role as scientific director, Dr. Anya Petrova was thriving. Her new marriage to Count Alessandro di Montecroce was a seamless blend of intellectual partnership and profound affection. They were not just a couple. They were a formidable force in the heritage conservation world. However, the past always demands a final confrontation. The final professional test, the major crisis, arrived with the discovery of the Byzantine Scroll of Venice, a collection of ancient encrypted documents believed to contain lost information about Whopper 14th century Venetian art trade, and, more critically, a cipher linked to Anya's doctoral research. The scroll was housed in a private collection and was being offered for sale to the highest bidder, a bidder who happened to be a shady Dubai-based antiquities broker known for unethical practices. The acquisition of this scroll became critical. It was scientifically priceless, and professionally, it represented the culmination of Anya's life's work, the same work Max had belittled. Anya and Alessandro spearheaded the effort. They leveraged the Foundation's capital and Alessandro's diplomatic connections to enter the complex negotiation. The key leverage point, however, came from Anya's own intellectual property. The patents for her conservation techniques, the very royalties Victor had stolen, were now used as collateral to secure the final winning bid, ensuring the scroll was preserved, not exploited. During the intense negotiation, Anya received an email. It was a digital copy of the original contract from Sterling Global Imports, her old company, showing her signature on the first market strategy she had developed for Victor. Attached was a note from Daniel Rossi, Victor's former rival. He's selling off the last of his personal collection to cover legal fees. This was among his files. It belongs to you. Anya looked at the old contract, smiled, and deleted the email. She didn't need the validation. She had the scroll. Her professional achievement had fully transcended her personal pain. The public affirmation, the Foundation's triumphant acquisition of the Byzantine scroll, led to a grand unveiling gala in Rome, attended by global leaders and heads of state. This was Anya and Alessandro's first official public appearance as husband and wife to the entire international elite. Anya stepped onto the stage, no cane needed, her confidence absolute, not as Mrs. Riker or Countess, but as Dr. Anya Petrova, the woman who decoded history. While presenting the significance of the scroll, she briefly paused and looked at Alessandro, who was beaming with pride from the front row. "The greatest discovery I have made," Anya concluded, her voice ringing with clarity, "is that true legacy is not what we inherit or what we hoard. It is what we choose to preserve, what we choose to share, and the integrity with which we build our future. And the most valuable assets we possess are our minds and the partners who respect that light." The applause was deafening. Anya had not just returned to the world, she had remade it in her own image, one of intelligence, integrity, and absolute self-worth. Interactive question. Anya's final victory was using the financial power derived from her stolen IP royalties to secure the scroll, completing her research legacy. Do you think this act constitutes the ultimate form of poetic justice? Comment yes or no, and explain the symbolism. Inspirational wrap-up. The woman who defined her own worth. A year after the triumphant Byzantine scroll acquisition, Dr. Anya Petrova was invited to give a public lecture at her alma mater, the University of Zurich, the very city that held the memories of her confinement. She stood on stage, not as Max Riker's wife, but as the celebrated director of an international foundation, a titan in her field. Her lecture wasn't about the conservation techniques. It was about the conservation of the self. 3 years ago, I stood in this city and believed I was powerless, Anya confessed to the packed auditorium. I believed the man I married who told me my expertise was merely a pastime. I allowed my mind, my talent, and my independence to be locked away because I was terrified of losing his financial control over my mother's care. She paused, allowing the silence to settle. The moment of my freedom came, not when I escaped the house, but when I accessed my old laptop and realized two simple facts. My own intellectual property, the work Max dismissed, was worth more than his control over my life. His deepest weapon, the care of my mother, was a lie. He had been so obsessed with appearing generous he overpaid, creating a weakness that only served to trap me. The lesson is this: do not let anyone define your value based on their fear of your potential. Do not mistake control for protection. And above all, know the value of your own mind. My final victory wasn't the divorce settlement. It was realizing that the only true, unbreakable asset I possess is the one I earned on my own: my education, my skill, and my absolute refusal to be silent. The standing ovation was deafening. Count Alessandro, watching from the front row, simply smiled. The smile of a man who knew he was partnered with true royalty.